Good evening and welcome to the latest installment of I Was a Teenage Daydreamer, where I discuss mostly music, some literature, some film, and some other things that I enjoy, and hopefully you do as well. Tonight's video is another tribute to a fallen rocker, someone who actually passed away the same day as Ozzy yesterday on June 22nd, 2025. But was certainly overshadowed, as this musician was in a band that many people have heard of, or at least heard the one, possibly two hits that they are remembered for, but a band that otherwise is very much overshadowed by many other bands, which is a shame because they are a fantastic band. And I'm talking, of course, about George Kooymans, not sure if I'm saying that correctly, from the Dutch band Golden Earring, who of course had the hit Radar Love in 1973, and then in 1982 Twilight Zone. So this is a band that I am not overly familiar with, but in the past 2 or 3 years I've been exploring a lot. Of course, Radar Love I've known literally my entire life. First the original version, and then the White Lion cover sometime in the late 80s or so, which is a really good cover actually, and makes sense. Mike Tramp being from Denmark, he was probably a huge fan of Golden Earring growing up. And while they are certainly not a household name here in the States, in Europe, and especially the Netherlands and such as, they are a huge, big band, and they have been the same lineup since 1970. They actually began in 1961 as a band called the Tornadoes, with Kooymans and the bass player, and forgive me, Rinus Gerritsen. Again, these are Dutch names, and I'm just a pasty white boy from the United States. And then Barry Hay on vocals and guitar, flute and saxophone, joined in 67, and Cesar Zudovic, drums and percussion from 70 on. And I think it's fantastic that they stayed together as a core four-piece, sometimes adding a guitarist, sometimes adding keyboardist, sometimes adding other auxiliary members, but those four guys stayed the same through a lot of albums and a lot of years. This was not a band that really slowed down at all. They were consistently putting out material. And 1973's Moontan, and I've got the non-naughty version of the cover right here, is the big hit that has Radar Love. And honestly, the album overall is fine, but it, to me, is not nearly as great as other albums, such as Mad Love, which was the U.S. name for Contraband, that came out in 1976, and the album that came out just before it in 76, To the Hilt, which I don't own a copy of, is also fantastic, especially the song Nomad. But, you know, these guys were a blend of all the good kinds of rock and roll: blues rock, psychedelic rock, garage rock, a little bit of hard rock and heavy rock. Again, you've got Barry Hay playing flute and saxophone, which might kind of sound cliche, but they were changing all over the place. I mean, they change. There's a song here on Mad Love called Celine, that I believe is Dutch for Sweden, but it must have 15 different parts in it. And it's not a very long song. It's only 5 minutes and 40 seconds. It's not like it's an epic, but they're just all over the place. Great musicianship, great melodies. George Kooymans was the guitarist and occasional vocalist. He wrote a lot of the songs. He wrote Radar Love. Just a fantastic band. And I was going to go ahead and, well, I was going to do a video on them anyway, but with his passing, and no one else that I've seen, none of the other posters that do classic rock or anything like that have said anything about him. I knew I had to say something because this is a band that, again, a lot of people have heard Radar Love, but they have no idea that it was Golden Earring, or they've heard Golden Earring, but they only had those one or two songs. Again, they are so much more, and they're all over the place. And some people might call their albums uneven or inconsistent because they hop genres a lot, but when the songwriting is as great as it is, I think who cares? Who cares? Show me everything you're feeling right now. And if you have to do 6 songs in 4 different genres, I'm more than happy with that. So they broke up in 2021 because of George Kooymans had ALS, neuron disorder situation. But they were going to play without him a one-off show January of next year that ended up being 5 shows because of the demand to see these guys. Again, here in the States, probably playing small clubs and stuff. In the Netherlands, other European places, they're playing larger venues. I believe the venue they're playing in Rotterdam is 16,000, 17,000 people, which isn't Madison Square Garden, but for Europe, smaller countries, smaller nations, people who really love good music, if enough people could get there, they could probably sell out 50 or 60,000 seat arenas. That's just my opinion of these guys. Again, not a band that I know all the catalog. I'm familiar with several of the 70s albums, and I think they are all fantastic. Delved into some of the 80s stuff. Didn't like it as much. I've heard that the 90s stuff kind of goes back to their 70s type feel. But again, the 70s were all over the place. Together is not really much like Moontan, is not really much like To the Hilt, is not really much like Contraband. Just a band that could do all kinds of great things and did it very well, in my opinion. Great singing, great melodies, great playing, great solos. Again, I'm going to shout out the song Nomad. I might even put the link down here at the bottom from To the Hilt. Just one of the hidden gems of rock and roll, in my opinion, along with Sails of Charon by Scorpions, Uli Jon Roth song that does not get the attention it deserves, but should be up there in the pantheon of amazing, heavy songs. So anyway, George Kooymans, 1947 to 2025, passed away after struggling with ALS for several years. The band will at least go on and play these last shows with some other Dutch musicians filling in for him, maybe past members of the band. It won't get much, if any, press here in the States, and I'll be honest, I may even forget that it happens. But this is a band that I am trying to champion, like a lot of other lesser known bands like Y&T, Thin Lizzy, Blue Oyster Cult. They're known for those 1 or 2 hits, but overall they are forgotten, and Golden Earring is really one that is very much forgotten. Even social media has got very little traction on George Kooymans passing. So there it is, 8.5 minutes to a Dutch band whose heyday was the same year I was born, and I think they should have been a household name even before then. So if you're a fan of Golden Earring, let me know what you think about the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and so on. There are different eras. Hit like and subscribe if you are so inclined. And most importantly, keep doing what you love. Thanks.